With so many people jumping into the Pokemon business world, an important thing to realize is you can't go into it without a plan. I see a lot of people jumping in with this idea of it being a really cool experience, and I'll just get sealed from Walmart, or I'll do singles, I'll do something really quickly and it'll be easy. And in reality, you need to have a bigger plan, a bigger idea of what your goal is. So today I want to go over what my plan is for 2026 and how I'm going to be approaching my business. But first, I'm Coda with Coda's Collectibles. I am restarting my Pokemon card business after taking a bit of a break because of work, and now I'm ready to get into it, and I have what I hope to be a really good plan for the rest of this year to scale this and build this into something that will be a fun side project and a fun side hobby that may become more. Now, if you saw my last video, one of the big reasons that I had to take a step back was because of how busy my work life was and how I'd kind of gone overboard and taken too much on with this and work, and it kind of got into my head and started trying to be perfect, and it just burned me out. So in this, I'm going to be trying to do these things in a way that's scalable and is a way to ease into it a little bit more and not go so headfirst into it, because I don't want to burn out again. So first, let's start with a strategy that was kind of my bread and butter for the first year of this business, which is collections and singles. So in the first 6 months of this business, a lot of my profit was made off of collections and singles. Collections a lot of times were picked up from friends who were getting out of the hobby or had found like, oh wow, I have this collection of stuff that I didn't realize that was worth something. I want to make some profit off of it. We worked out a deal and made it happen. Or, off Facebook Marketplace, which is always a little sketchy just because it's Facebook Marketplace. But, I always try to vet the people I was buying from and didn't really ever have any major issues aside from one person that had a couple of fake cards mixed in that they didn't realize, and we made it work. We made it right. Those are the two main places. Word of mouth is always a good one too. So if you have a social media presence or you have a YouTube presence and kind of put the call like, hey, I'm buying collections, let me know. It could be a good way of finding cool collections that you can work a good deal out on. I've had a couple of people contact me that I wasn't able to purchase from, and I actually sent them to someone else that I knew would be able to purchase. And then there were ones that I did purchase because they were, a good deal and they were close enough to me to where I could go and travel and pick it up. So the first pro of this is because it is such a low bar of entry. You don't have to have distribution. You don't have to worry about PSA turnaround times. You can just go meet up, check it out, and pick it up at a good price. You don't have to have a bunch of capital necessarily. You can buy smaller collections and scale your way up versus having to purchase a bunch of sealed for like, $1,000. You can find $200 collections that you can turn and flip for $250 and build yourself up from there. There's no waiting on shipping to get to you. There's no hoping that PSA doesn't send you into the void for 4 months. There's no hoping that a vendor sends you the sealed stuff you're expecting. It's just boom, here's your stuff, pick it up, pay the guy, pay the girl, get out. So the cons of this are kind of dependent on you and where you live. For me, I live in a smaller city, but the problem is it's also a college town, a pretty big college. So a lot of people are kind of picking up on this idea of collections and they're buying stuff up. And then what's left is being chased after so hard that the people want market for, which is perfectly fine. That's their right. But for me, I can't buy at market and be able to sell it for a profit. So for my area, it's been a little dried up and it's been a little hard to find much of anything other than some bulk here and a couple small $100 to $200 collections here and there that are smaller items, which is not necessarily great when you're selling a tcgplayer because you get feed to death, but it is working for people. You have PokePass or TCG, who's a big proponent of buying collections and stuff, and it's really worked for him. He's in a bigger area than I am. He's in a bigger environment, so he has more accessibility. There's more options versus where I'm kind of more condensed. This isn't a big Pokemon hub by any means, and there are a lot of people that are trying to buy stuff and flip it, which is awesome for them, but for me, it is a lot more competition, so it doesn't quite work as well. So if you're in an area where you have more accessibility, maybe there's a bigger area or an area that's not as saturated with people that are doing the same thing, it might really work well for you. And it's a very easy, accessible way to jump into this. And relatively low overhead. If you start out with a smaller collection with a decent budget, you're able to kind of scale that up a little bit better than having to put together a giant nest egg for a bunch of sealed or try to get distribution and then wait forever to ever get anything related to Pokemon at all, except maybe sleeves. I mean, you get probably like plenty of sleeves apparently. The other con of it is it's a higher volume. So if you buy a 200 card collection, say, and you try to flip it, a lot of times those cards can get bought 1, 2, maybe like 3 or 4 at a time. So you're selling 150 cards or 200 cards through 100 orders. That takes time. Packing orders is one of the most time consuming things in my work now. I like it. I kind of just sit back, play music. Maybe I'll watch something and just vibe out doing it. It's really fun to me. There's other people that stream while they do it, or there's also people that film it and, kind of explain things over top of it. They use it as B-roll. So there's a lot of good options for it. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're not willing to commit the time to packing 100 orders out of a collection, it might not be the best strategy for you. But if you have the time and have the desire to do that, it's a great way for an entry into the business. Now for the second leg of this business, I'm focusing on grading and flipping. And this is actually probably going to be the most intensive part and the biggest aspect of the business for me now. And I know PSA turnaround times are miserable right now and people are really frustrated with that, and tag and CGC and other stuff doesn't sell as well. But I think if you can incrementally send in orders to PSA and have a nice wave system, it'll take a little bit to get there, but after a couple months, you're going to have an order every 3 weeks that's going to come to you, and you're going to have constant source of profit, of product. And a big aspect of this is it's less time intensive. When you send stuff in, you send the stuff in, you're just like, okay, cool, I'm done with this for now. Until this gets graded by PSA and sent back to me, I can't do anything with it. So I can move on to the next cards that I'm going to pre-grade, look through, and send off to the PSA. And then when you do sell it, you're selling generally one card at a time, but you're selling 50 cards for a higher profit margin if you're good at this and you get good grades, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's a lot less orders and a lot less constant moving than collections where you have 100 orders. I've had 60, 70, 80 orders in a night. That's a lot more time intensive than slabs, which are, I usually max out at like 10 a night at most, which is still crazy, but it's not nearly as time intensive as singles on tcgplayer. Another pro of this is something you can get good at. This is something that you can develop as a skill with pre-grading and figuring out how to best guesstimate what's going to be a 10, what's going to be a 9. For me right now, I have about a 68% gem rate, and that's good. Like, that's a percentage where you can make consistent profit off of it. I've had some 10s that I thought shouldn't be 10s necessarily, but were kind of like middle 9.5s almost, but they got 10s. And I've also had 9s that I thought should definitely be 10s. So you're going to have a little bit of that back and forth, but you can hone this skill and get good at it. There's plenty of people out there that have developed the skill and have developed a good pre-grading process. And if you want to see a video on my process, I'll happily put one out. Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe if you're enjoying this content. Drop a like, drop a comment. Helps the algorithm, helps grow this channel, and I would really appreciate it. Another really good aspect of this is you can find research to see what cards are grading well, what cards come back as 10s more consistently, and what cards have higher profit margins and effort value. There are third-party sites that do this really well, and they kind of simplify and condense everything and all the information for you. But if you don't want to have to pay, you can actually just look up cards on PSA's website and find the pop reports for them. So you can see how many cards of that have been graded, how many of them have turned out to be PSA 10s versus PSA 9s, and find the gem rate percentage. And the gem rate percentage is simply how many cards were graded as PSA 10s divided by how many cards overall were graded. This way, when you go to tcgplayer eBay to buy some of these cards that you want to grade, you can know, okay, generally this is the percentage of them that are coming back as 10s. So if I can buy some of these singles, there's a good chance I'll be able to find these cards that are pre-graded to be 10s, like I think they're going to be 10s, and send them off. Again, this is my process and your results may vary, but it's been working for me so far. I usually use tcgplayer to find most of my cards. It's easy to source a lot of cards at one time and get them all sent to you around the same time. But if you want to use eBay, you can kind of see a little more closely the card. You can get a little more feel for if it's a higher percentage to be a 10, if it looks off center, if it looks like there's whitening. You can find all those things on eBay, but I've had less success because there's a lot of people that are also doing that. So I use tcgplayer mostly, and I try to find more obscure cards. I'm not necessarily going after only the big hitters, like not trying to find the Moonbryons or the Phantasmal Flames Charizards as much. I'm trying to find cards that I think have a good value, that are a little more cheap to get, that have a good percentage return. That way I can kind of get a lot of cards at one time, pre-grade them, send them off, and then whatever I get that isn't pre-gradable, what I think will be a 10, I go ahead and just send it to tcgplayer, or maybe I'll use Whatnot. I haven't used that yet, but that is a chance that I might do that. But for now, it's been going through tcgplayer back out, and I take a small loss on those, but it's worth it because overall, with the 10s that I'm getting back and the percentage I'm getting them at, I'm able to make profit still. Again, if you want to see my whole process, I'll happily make a video on that. Just let me know, but that's currently where I'm at with it. Now the cons of this. This is a skill that you can develop, but it's also a skill that you have to practice. You're not going to get it right the first time. My first submission, I submitted 20 cards. I got 8 10s, which is not horrible, but I looked back on some of those cards and realized, oh my gosh, I wasn't even close. These are clearly not 10s because it'd been a couple months, so I was getting them back after having a lot more practice. And man, I was wrong. So I do suggest watching some videos on people with the pre-rating process and what they do, because it will help you hone that skill, but it is gonna take time. Your first submission might not go super well, but don't get discouraged by that. You have to get better at this. You're gonna learn this. You're gonna learn what to look for. You're gonna learn like, okay, this is something that they let by most of the time, so it's worth trying. Okay, this is something that they don't let by at all. I'm not gonna send this in. You'll learn, you'll adapt. It is a skill to develop. It'll take a little bit of time, but it is worth it to get good at it if you want to. With that, sometimes you're gonna send in cards and you're gonna think this is a 10 all the way, no question. And it comes back a 9 and you're gonna sit there ripping your hair out thinking, what the heck? I know that's a 10. It should be a 10. And you may choose to resend it in and get it graded again. It might come back a 10, it might not, but it's just gonna happen sometimes. These are graders that are human. They're not perfect, but for me, I still have a good consistent percentage. So I know whatever I'm doing overall is still profitable. It is still working. It just may not feel like that all the time. So don't let that discourage you either. It just happens sometimes. I've also had 9s that I've sent in that are clearly 9s that come back 10s. I'm like, cool. It doesn't deserve to be. I took a risk on this. I was like 30% sure it might be a 10, which is low for me. Usually I try to be over 50% sure that's going to be a 10 before I send it. But it worked. Excellent. It's a card that was used to fill out the last of my 20 card order, and I wanted to make sure I got that bulk rate. So it's give and take. Both happen. People usually highlight the bad and how this card should be a 9. How is it a 10? The other side happens a lot of times too. Just take it as you go. It's both. Both are going to happen. Don't worry about it. Now, the key issue with PSA right now is the turnaround times are insane. It's like 3 months right now or something like that. So if you're just starting now, you can't expect to be able to make profit off of these for 3 months. Right now, I have an order out. I might have 2 orders out actually. I'm waving them in basically as like every 3 weeks I send another order in. And I know at some point when that first one gets done, it's gonna come back. I expect to be able to make profit off of it. I expect to have a good amount of 10s to sell off. And the 9s, I don't know what I'll do with. I'll probably still sell them, but sometimes I'll just put on my collection because I might like it. I don't mind having 9s. But just realize it's gonna take some time. It's not gonna be immediate. And if you need something that's more immediate, you wanna build a nest egg more quickly, this might not be the strategy for you right now. Like I said, I'm still primarily using PSA because the market likes PSA more, and there's nothing I can do about that. As much as I love tag personally, the market doesn't necessarily want it as much. So I'm focusing still on PSA, which means I'm gonna have to deal with the long turnaround times, and I'm okay with that. Now for the third aspect, this is something that's actually a lot more future-based, but it's stuff I'm working on now to build up to it. And that is getting ready to have my own website and to sell sealed Japanese. And I know a lot of people are doing this and a lot of people are jumping on it a little more quickly than I am. But for me, I don't want to ever run the risk of running out of stock. So right now, the nest egg that I'm building up for this is not big enough to get a big enough stock that I think I won't sell out too quickly. My plan is to price very competitively, to price very fairly, and that does run the risk of running out a little more quickly. So for now, I'm taking part of the profits from the other 2 aspects of the business and putting them into a nest egg essentially for when I am ready to launch a website and buy a larger stock of Japanese. And I know that's a little risky, but that's just the risk I'm willing to take. I'm using the profits from other things, so I'm not necessarily worried about using something from my own personal salary that's gonna cause issues for my family. It's just, taking part of the business and taking a risk there, because I think overall, that's the most scalable and growable part of a business. Grading is always going to have these turnaround times and the inconsistencies sometimes of the grader. Collections and singles are going to fluctuate like crazy and also be in and out of difficulty to get. But Japanese, for whatever price it may be, is a consistent thing to get. Right now, I have a guy that I can get Mega Dream from. I can get the new Nihil Zero set. I can get Black and White. I can get all these different sets for a price. I can then price them fairly to sell them and get a percentage back at a lot lower fee rate than doing TCGplayer or eBay. So I don't have to worry so much about finding product, hoping PSA gets back to me in time, hoping I get 10s. I just know I'm getting X amount of boxes at X price. I'm gonna sell them at X price, and the world goes on. It's also a great opportunity to build community, to build a brand. TCGplayer, you don't have a brand. You're not a face. You're just a personal TCGplayer. eBay is kind of the same way. You're not a brand. You're just that eBay seller. But with your own website, you can build a brand, you can build a community, you can build trust with that community, both vendors that you're buying stuff from and customers you're selling stuff to. And that's really important to me. I want to build a brand. I want to build that community. And that's why I've been making YouTube videos. That's why I've been selling stuff in the first place. Honestly, I really enjoy the community aspect of Pokemon, and it's a really great community minus a few bad eggs. Now the cons of this are, again, this is risky. I'm not guaranteed to sell stuff. I'm not guaranteed to sell stuff at a profit. Japanese is a little volatile right now, so I may buy Mega Dream at $78 a box. And when I get it, it's all of a sudden worth $78 a box on the market. And now I'm basically losing the percentage of shipping and fees from the website, which is usually around 3.5%. Plus you have the overhead of the website. You have the overhead of having to have more shipping supplies. You can't ship a booster box and a plain white envelope like you can a single, or a bubble mailer like you can a slab. And people aren't just gonna know who you are. You can't just expect people to come to your website and be like, wow, I'm gonna buy from this person that has this website that I've never heard of. So in that, you have to start marketing. Like I have to continue making videos. I have to continue making social media posts. And I want to, obviously. This is stuff I love doing. This is stuff I do for work. So I'm gonna do it regardless. But now it's a little more intense. It's a little more, I've got to do this. I have to build this out. So for some of you, that won't be a strategy you want to do at all. You don't want to make videos. You don't want to make social media posts. You just want to sell to fund your collection. You just want to sell the cards you have that are a little bit extra that you don't necessarily want, or duplicates, and that's totally fine. Don't worry about building a website. Don't worry about marketing. You don't have to. tcgplayer does that for you. eBay does that for you. For me, it's a different story. And I'm also going to take on a couple of like small odd jobs here and there and projects to help fund this nest egg, because it's hard to take a percentage of your profit and build a nest egg and have the other percentage still go back into getting more product versus having a small side job. I'm a video editor. I can take on a project. I actually took on a big project for work outside of my normal job that paid me a bit extra, and I'm going to use that to help fund this nest egg. It's something I want to do. It's not something you have to do by any means, but for me, I would like to speed up the process a touch, but I'm also going to make sure that I'm doing it in a way that is scalable, that is not going to burn me out. So I'm only be taking on small little things here and there, smaller projects to help build that out, but I'm not going to be going crazy, spending 80 hours a week trying to find every bit of work I can to make it happen. I'm still focused on doing this in a scalable, manageable way to avoid any kind of burnout. And that's it. That's my plan for 2026. It is going to probably change here and there. It's going to be tweaked, but overall, I think this is a pretty cemented version of the overall plan. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments. I really enjoy talking about this stuff. If you have ideas for what you want to see in other videos, again, let me know in the comments. Please make sure you subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. I'm going to try to put out videos more consistently. This video was supposed to be out like a week and a half ago, but giant ice storms followed by another snowstorm kind of set everything back, and it just took a little bit longer to get set up to do this. So I will try to be a little more consistent. I cannot promise that, but I'm going to do my best. Thank you all for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.